Commander, look at these readings.
I have never seen anything like this. This is Earth. Please, anyone, this is our final transmission. Move it, recruits! Faster!
Subject's cranial capacity is immense. No visible respiratory organs.
This will target their specific genetic code. Today, we take back our city! This is our home! I beseech you, accept this plea for peace. Our time is running out. Let us end this conflict, save our people.
The stars had never looked so peaceful. Commander Jake Miller stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching the endless blackness of space through the main viewing window. His ship was 3 months into what should have been a simple survey mission to the Kepler 442 system. The crew of 42 had grown comfortable with the routine of deep space exploration. "Commander, we're getting some strange readings from the outer sensors," said Lisa Brown from her position at the navigation console. She was young, only 26, but had proven herself to be one of the best navigators in the fleet. Jake walked over to look at her screen. The numbers meant nothing unusual to him, but Lisa's worried expression told him something was wrong. What kind of readings? Energy signatures. Big ones. Moving fast toward the inner system. Lisa's fingers danced across her controls, trying to get a clearer picture. "Sir, I think there are ships out there. A lot of them." Tony Garcia looked up from the engineering station. He was a quiet man who rarely spoke unless something was seriously wrong. "Commander, if Lisa's right about those energy readings, those ships are huge, bigger than anything we've ever built." Amy White, the communications officer, suddenly straightened in her chair. Her face had gone pale. "Commander, I'm picking up a transmission from Earth. It's an emergency broadcast." Jake felt his stomach drop. Emergency broadcasts from Earth were rare. The last one had been during the colony ship disaster at Proxima Centauri 5 years ago. "Put it through." The speakers crackled to life with static. Then a voice came through, broken and desperate. All ships, this is Earth Defense Command. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Unknown alien vessels have appeared in Earth orbit. They are bombing major population centers. New York is gone. London is gone. We need immediate assistance from any available ships. The bridge fell silent. Jake stared at the speaker, unable to process what he had just heard. New York was gone. That was impossible. 8 million people lived in New York. "Sir." Lisa's voice was barely a whisper. Jake snapped back to reality. "Set course for Earth immediately. Maximum speed." "Commander, at maximum speed it will take us 6 days to reach Earth," Tony said from his station. 6 days. Jake closed his eyes. Whatever was happening on Earth would be over long before they could arrive. But they had to try. The next few hours brought more transmissions from Earth, each one worse than the last. Tokyo had been destroyed. Then Berlin. Then Sydney. The alien ships were methodically wiping out Earth's major cities. The Planetary Defense Fleet, commanded by Admiral Ben Clark from the orbital station Olympus, was fighting back, but they were heavily outnumbered. Jake listened to Admiral Clark's voice over the communication system. The man sounded tired but determined. "All available ships, this is Admiral Clark. The enemy fleet consists of approximately 50 vessels, each one larger than our biggest cruiser. They appeared without warning and began bombing immediately. We estimate 2 billion casualties so far." 2 billion. The number was too large to understand. Jake had grown up in Chicago. His parents still lived there, along with his sister and her 2 children. He tried not to think about whether Chicago was still there. "Captain Dan Ross is making his attack run now," Admiral Clark's voice continued. "The Ross has taken heavy damage but is still operational. Dan, you're our best shot at taking out one of their big ships." Jake knew Dan Ross. They had served together on the USS Atlanta years ago. Dan was a good man, a careful commander who never took unnecessary risks. If Dan was making an attack run against impossible odds, things must be desperate. The communications crackled again. This time it was Dan's voice. "This is Captain Ross. My ship is badly damaged, and we've lost most of our crew. I'm going to ram the lead alien vessel. Tell my wife I love her." There was silence for several long minutes. Then Admiral Clark's voice returned, and Jake could hear the pain in it. "The Ross has successfully destroyed one enemy capital ship. Captain Ross and his crew are gone, but they took a lot of the aliens with them." Amy White was crying quietly at her station. Lisa had her hands clenched into fists. Tony was staring at his console, his jaw tight with anger. Jake felt something cold and hard forming in his chest. These aliens, whoever they were, had come to Earth without warning and started killing innocent people. Billions of innocent people. They hadn't even tried to communicate first. They had just started bombing. More transmissions came through over the next few hours. The human defense fleet was fighting bravely, but they were losing. Ship after ship was destroyed trying to protect Earth. The aliens seemed to have better weapons, better shields, better everything. Then came the transmission they had all been dreading. Admiral Clark's voice, weaker now, filled with exhaustion and grief. "The alien fleet is withdrawing. They've taken heavy casualties, more than they expected. But Earth is devastated. Most major cities are gone. We estimate 2 billion dead, maybe more. The government is trying to coordinate rescue operations, but it's chaos down there." Jake sank into his command chair. 2 billion people gone just like that. "Commander," Lisa said softly, "we're still 4 days out from Earth. For days. For days to think about what they would find when they got home. For days to imagine the devastation waiting for them." Amy's communications console beeped. She wiped her eyes and answered it. "Commander, there's a message coming through from Earth. It's President Kate Johnson." Jake nodded. "Put it through." President Johnson's voice filled the bridge. She sounded different than Jake remembered from her speeches. Harder, colder. "My fellow humans, both on Earth and throughout the colonies. Today we suffered the worst attack in human history. An alien species we had never encountered before came to our world and tried to destroy us. They killed 2 billion of our people. They destroyed our greatest cities. They thought one strike would break us." The president paused. When she spoke again, her voice carried a promise that made Jake's spine straighten. "They were wrong. They wanted to break us with one strike. Instead, they've awakened something they should have left sleeping. We will rebuild. We will remember. And we will make sure this never happens again." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Jake looked around at his crew. Lisa was no longer crying. Tony's hands were steady on his controls. Amy sat straight in her chair, her eyes focused and determined. Something had changed in all of them. Something fundamental. Jake could feel it in himself, too. The peaceful explorer who had been watching the stars a few hours ago was gone. In his place was something harder, something angrier. The aliens had made a mistake. They had shown humanity that the universe was not the peaceful place they had hoped it would be. They had shown them that there were species out there who would kill without warning, without mercy, and without reason. Jake stood up and walked to the main window, looking out at the stars. They didn't look peaceful anymore. They looked dangerous, full of threats that humanity had never imagined. But humanity would be ready for them now. Whatever it took. However long it took. Humanity would be ready. The aliens had struck Earth first. They would soon learn that humanity would make sure they never got the chance to attack again. 6 months had passed since the attack. Earth looked nothing like the blue marble it had once been. Where New York had stood, there was now a glass crater that glowed faintly in the dark. London was a pile of twisted metal and ash. The oceans had turned gray from all the debris floating through them. Lieutenant Alex Parker stood in the ruins of what used to be Central Park. He could barely recognize the place where he had played as a child. The trees were gone. The lake was filled with concrete and steel. Everything was dead. Alex had been a peace activist before the attack. He had spent his college years protesting wars and writing papers about nonviolent solutions to conflicts. That person felt like a stranger to him now. The man standing in the ruins was someone else entirely. "Parker, move your ass. We have training in 10 minutes. Alex turned to see Sergeant Rick Davis walking toward him. Rick had been a construction worker before the attack. Now he was one of the instructors for the Human Retaliation Corps. Like everyone else, the attack had changed him. His eyes were harder now. His smile was gone. The Human Retaliation Corps was General Mike Thompson's idea. Thompson had lost his wife and 3 children in the bombing of Chicago. He had been off-world when it happened, serving with the Colonial Marines on Europa. When he came back to find his family dead, something inside him had broken. Or maybe it had been fixed. Alex wasn't sure which. Thompson's plan was simple. Train every human who could hold a weapon. Train them to fight aliens. Train them to win no matter what the cost. The old rules of war were for the old world, the world that had existed before the attack. This was a new world with new rules. Alex walked with Rick toward the training facility. It had been built in the crater where the United Nations building used to stand. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. The UN had talked about peace. The Retaliation Corps talked about war. "You hear about the new recruits?" Rick asked as they walked. "What about them?" "Dr. Susan Taylor is training them personally." "The alien expert?" Rick spat on the ground. "Though I guess calling her an expert is wrong. She's more like a butcher now." Alex knew about Dr. Taylor. Before the attack, she had been Earth's leading xenobiologist. She had written books about the possibility of peaceful contact with alien species. She had dreamed of learning from other civilizations, of sharing knowledge and culture. Now she spent her days cutting apart dead aliens, learning how to kill them more efficiently. The training facility was buzzing with activity. Hundreds of recruits moved through combat courses, weapons training, and tactical simulations. These weren't professional soldiers. They were teachers, farmers, office workers, students. People who had never held a gun before the attack. People who had never wanted to hurt anyone. The attack had changed all of that. Alex found his training group in Section 7. 20 men and women, all between the ages of 18 and 35. All volunteers. All ready to do whatever it took to make sure Earth was never attacked again. Captain Nina Foster was waiting for them. She had been one of the few military officers to survive the initial attack. Her ship, the USS Denver, had been in the outer system when the aliens struck. She had watched the bombardment from space, helpless to stop it. "Listen up," Nina said. Her voice was quiet, but everyone heard every word. "Yesterday you learned about alien anatomy. Today you learn about alien psychology." She pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed the bridge of one of the alien ships that had been shot down over the Pacific Ocean. The creatures inside looked almost human, but their skin was gray, and they had 4 arms instead of 2. "These are Zepyrians," Nina continued. "That's what they call themselves. We know this because we've been interrogating the survivors." Alex raised his hand. "How many survivors were there?" Nina's smile was cold. "Not many, and they're getting fewer every day." The hologram changed to show a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the locations of Zepyrian colonies and military bases. There were dozens of them. "Intelligence Officer Tom Walsh has been very busy," Nina said. "The aliens didn't bother to encrypt their communications because they thought we were too primitive to understand them. They were wrong." The map zoomed in on a system about 50 light-years from Earth. Multiple planets were marked in red. This is their home system, Ziria Prime, and 6 colony worlds. Population: approximately 12 billion. Alex felt his breath catch. 12 billion aliens. The same number of humans who had lived on Earth before the attack. "What are we going to do about them?" asked Maria Santos, a former nurse who had volunteered after losing her entire family in the Mexico City bombing. Nina's smile grew wider. "We're going to kill them all." The room was silent. Alex looked around at his fellow trainees. None of them looked shocked. None of them looked horrified. They all looked hungry. The old Earth would have tried to negotiate, Nina continued. The old Earth would have tried to find a peaceful solution. The old Earth would have talked about forgiveness and understanding. She paused. The old Earth is dead. We are what's left. The training that followed was unlike anything Alex had ever experienced. They learned how to use alien weapons, how to pilot captured alien ships, how to think like killers. They studied every weakness in Zephyrian biology, every flaw in their technology, and every mistake they had made during the attack on Earth. Dr. Taylor visited their group in the third week. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept in months. Her white lab coat was stained with things Alex didn't want to think about. I've been working on something special, she said, holding up a small device that looked like a grenade. This contains a biological agent designed specifically for Zephyrian physiology. It won't hurt humans, but it will kill any Zephyrian within a half-mile radius. Alex stared at the device. Is that legal? Dr. Taylor laughed, but there was no humor in it. Legal according to whom? The Geneva Convention? That was written by humans for wars between humans. This isn't a human war anymore. She looked around the room at each of them. They came to our world and murdered 2 billion innocent people. They didn't declare war first. They didn't try to negotiate. They just started killing. So we're going to return the favor. The training continued for 3 more months. By the end, Alex could field strip an alien plasma rifle in 30 seconds. He could pilot a Zephyrian fighter. He could kill in a dozen different ways with his bare hands. More importantly, he wanted to. On graduation day, General Thompson himself came to address their class. He stood in front of the 200 graduates, looking at each one of them individually. 6 months ago, most of you had never fired a weapon in anger, he said. 6 months ago, you believed in peace and diplomacy and the basic goodness of intelligent life. He paused. 6 months ago, you were naive. The general walked to the window that looked out over the ruins of New York. The universe is not a peaceful place. We learned that the hard way, but we learned it, and now we're going to teach it to everyone else. He turned back to face them. In 2 weeks, the first ships of the new human fleet will be ready for launch. Some of you will crew those ships. Some of you will train the next group of graduates. Some of you will work with Dr. Taylor on new ways to kill aliens. Alex raised his hand. What's our mission, sir? General Thompson's smile was the coldest thing Alex had ever seen. Simple, Lieutenant. We're going to find every Zephyrian in the galaxy, and then we're going to kill them all. The room erupted in cheers. Alex found himself cheering along with everyone else. The sound echoed off the walls of the training facility built in the crater where the United Nations used to stand. The UN had believed in peace. The Human Retaliation Corps believed in something else entirely. They believed in never again. 2 years had passed since the day the aliens destroyed Earth's cities. The planet had become something different now. Where once there had been parks and schools, there were now weapons factories and training camps. Where once there had been universities, there were now research facilities dedicated to one purpose: learning how to kill aliens more efficiently. Admiral Sarah Grant stood on the bridge of the USS Retribution, humanity's first truly alien hybrid warship. The ship was 3 times larger than anything humans had built before the attack. Its hull was made from materials reverse-engineered from captured Zephyrian vessels. Its weapon systems combined human creativity with alien technology in ways the Zephyrians had never imagined. Sarah had been a cargo ship captain before the attack. She had spent her days moving supplies between Earth's colonies, living a quiet life that she had loved. The aliens had taken that life away from her, along with everything else she had cared about. Her home city of Portland was now a radioactive crater. Her husband and daughter were buried somewhere beneath the ruins. Admiral, we're approaching the Kepler 438 system, reported Commander Laura Kim from the navigation station. Laura had been an engineer before the attack. Now she designed bombs that could crack planets in half. How many Zephyrian ships are we detecting? Sarah asked. 37 combat vessels, plus support ships. The colony has approximately 2 million inhabitants. Sarah felt no emotion at the number. Once, the idea of attacking a world with 2 million innocent people would have horrified her. Now, it seemed like justice. The Zephyrians had chosen to attack Earth without warning. They had chosen to kill 2 billion humans in a single day. They had started this war. Humanity was going to finish it. Captain Chris Moore, prepare your boarding teams, Sarah said into her communicator. Already ready, Admiral, came Moore's reply. Chris had been a police officer before the attack. He had believed in protecting and serving. He still did, but his definition of who deserved protection had changed significantly. The human fleet consisted of 50 ships, all built in hidden facilities throughout the solar system. They had been designed for one purpose: the complete destruction of alien civilizations. No prisoners, no negotiations, no mercy. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian colony, reported communications officer Pete Adams. Pete had been a teacher before the attack. He had taught kindergarten children how to read. Now he taught humans how to decode alien distress calls. Let me hear it, Sarah said. The alien voice came through the speakers, speaking in broken English. Human ships, please respond. We know of attack on your world. Many of us opposed that action. We seek peace talks. Sarah almost laughed. Peace talks? They wanted to negotiate now, after they had murdered 2 billion people. It was too late for that. Open a channel, she ordered. Channel open, Admiral. Sarah looked out at the Zephyrian colony world through the main viewer. It was a green planet with blue oceans, not unlike Earth had been before the attack. Soon it would be nothing but ash and radiation. Attention, Zephyrian colony, she said into the communicator. This is Admiral Sarah Grant of the Human Retaliation Fleet. You have 1 hour to evacuate your military vessels from this system. After that, we will destroy everything in orbit and on the planet's surface. There was a long pause before the alien voice returned. Admiral Grant, surely we can discuss this. Not all Zephyrians supported the attack on your world. Many of our people are innocent civilians, including children. Sarah felt something cold move through her chest. Children. The aliens were talking about their children as if that should matter to her. As if she should care about alien children when they hadn't cared about human children. You had your chance to think about innocent children 2 years ago, Sarah replied. You chose not to. Now face the consequences. She cut the transmission and turned to her weapons officer. Colonel Pete Adams, begin Operation Cleansing Fire. The human fleet moved into attack formation. Unlike the Zephyrians, who had relied on brute force and superior numbers, the humans used deception and psychological warfare. Half of their ships were equipped with cloaking devices reverse-engineered from captured alien technology. The other half projected false sensor readings that made them appear to be cargo vessels. The Zephyrian fleet moved to intercept what they thought were helpless cargo ships. They had no idea that each cargo ship was actually a heavily armed warship disguised to look harmless. Captain Dan Stone commanded the USS Phantom, one of the cloaked vessels. Dan had been a freight pilot before the attack. He had never wanted to hurt anyone. That had changed the day he returned from a cargo run to find his hometown of Denver had been turned into a smoking crater. Phantom is in position, Dan reported. The Zephyrian fleet is moving to intercept the decoy ships. All ships, execute attack pattern Alpha, Sarah ordered. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, 37 Zephyrian warships had been destroyed. The human fleet had lost 2 vessels and suffered minor damage to 3 others. Admiral, the orbital defenses have been neutralized, reported Captain Moore. Beginning planetary bombardment. Sarah watched through the main viewer as streams of plasma fire rained down on the colony world. Cities vanished in flashes of light. Forests burned. Oceans boiled. Within an hour, nothing lived on the planet's surface. Boarding teams deploy to the orbital stations, Sarah ordered. Remember, no survivors. Captain Moore led his teams through the Zephyrian space stations. These weren't soldiers. They were engineers, technicians, medical staff, and civilians. But to the humans, they were still Zephyrians. And the Zephyrians had chosen to become humanity's enemies. Dr. Helen Gray had designed special weapons for this mission. Helen had been a pediatrician before the attack. She had dedicated her life to healing children. Now she created weapons designed to cause maximum suffering to alien children. The biological weapons she had developed were deployed throughout the orbital facilities. They were designed to target Zepyrian DNA specifically, causing a slow and painful death. Any Zepyrian who breathed the contaminated air would die within hours. All orbital facilities secured. More reported. No survivors. The human fleet spent another day in the system, making sure nothing had been missed. They destroyed every satellite, every space probe, every piece of technology the aliens had left behind. When they were finished, the Kepler-438 system looked as if no intelligent life had ever existed there. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Zepyrian home fleet, Pete Adams reported. It's Admiral Vexer, their supreme commander. Put him through. The alien's face appeared on the main screen. Vexer looked older than most Zepyrians. Scars crossed his gray skin, speaking of many battles. But his eyes showed something Sarah had never seen in an alien before. Fear. Admiral Grant, Vexer said. I am Admiral Vexer of the Zepyrian Imperial Navy. What you have done here is a violation of all civilized rules of warfare. Sarah smiled. Rules of warfare? You mean like the rules that say you don't attack civilian populations without warning? Like the rules that say you don't murder billions of innocent people in a single day? Vexer's expression darkened. That was a strategic military action designed to end resistance quickly and minimize casualties. Minimize casualties? Sarah's voice rose. You killed 2 billion people in one day. You turned our greatest cities into craters. You made our children into orphans, and our parents into corpses. And now you want to talk about rules? The alien admiral was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Smaller. What do you want? Sarah looked around her bridge at her crew. These had once been teachers, doctors, farmers. The aliens had turned them into killers. Cold, efficient killers who felt no remorse for what they had done. We want you to understand what you created when you attacked Earth, Sarah said. You wanted to fight humans. Congratulations. You succeeded. But we're not the same species you attacked 2 years ago. We've learned from you. We've become what you forced us to become. She paused, letting her words sink in. This colony had 2 million inhabitants. Now it has 0. In the past 6 months, we've destroyed 12 Zepyrian worlds. The total death count is approaching 50 million of your people. Sarah smiled again. And this time it was a terrible thing to see. We're just getting started.